The first step, of course, to put on any glue-on shoe or the iron block in specific, is to trim the horse. Here we have a horse who has been shod in the past. You can still see the nail holes, but it's already a month or two that he hasn't had shoes on. It's pretty dry here in the summer, so these are nice and dry hoofs, which helps. But we'll see later that if they're not dry enough, you have to dry them with a heat gun. You can trim the horse with your traditional tools, nippers and rasp and knives. And this is what I'm gonna do on this first left fore. This demo has been made in Tuscany in the summer, so that explains the dry conditions of the hoof. On the other side, the terrain is very rocky and rough, so the horse is going to benefit from this glue-on shoe, which is also flexible and shock absorbing. After cleaning the hoof wall for the glue-on job, you want to protect the coronary band with duct tape so that if there is a drop of hot glue or something, it doesn't come in contact with the soft tissues. Then you choose your size and the way you're going to positioning your shoe. So you might decide, this is a horse which has a fairly low sloped hoof, so a fairly sharp angle between this dorsal hoof wall and the sole, so we might want to set it back slightly, the shoe. Then you might want to decide that you don't want the dorsal clips or cuffs on it, so you cut them away so that you can position the shoe slightly backward. You use your heat gun to remove the manufacturer's inside layer of the polyurethane iron block shoe. So it's important that just before putting them on, you give it a good passage on the inside, on the glue side of the glue-on shoe, of the iron block. And of course, you want to dry the hoof wall. You want to do this always because all glues release heat when setting. And this drives out the superficial humidity out of the upper surfaces, the outer surfaces of the hoof wall. And this might make a little layer of perspiration which goes and sits between the wall and the glue, and you don't want that. After applying the nozzle, you throw out a little bit of the beginning of the glue so that you're sure that they're well mixed, the two components. You apply a little bit of glue on the upper surface of the toe area of the shoe. On this first shoe, we're going to use Adhere as the glue, polyurethane, which is well known. You ask the owner to assist you or an assistant to assist you. When you apply the glue, it's on the cuffs. You want to keep the cuffs horizontal so that the glue goes on the horizontal. So you tip the shoe so that your glue stays where you want it on the cuff side, on the inner side. Then you place your shoe onto the hoof, and this is very important. You have to make sure that you wrap with your shrink wrap at least 10 turns of your shrink wrap from the bulbs to the toe of the shoe. This makes sure that your shoe will not travel forward when you do the diagonally wrapping, which is going to fix the shoe temporarily to the hoof. So at least 10 wraps, depending on the strength of your shrink wrap, between the bulbs and the toe. And that is the moment that you take your time to make sure that the shoe is not twisted, that it's well positioned, before you go on to fix it with diagonal wrapping. Diagonal wrapping is, in my technique, it goes from the lateral heel to the medial toe 3 times, and then you cross over to the medial heel, outer toe 3 times, and so on. You do this for 20-30 reps, again depending on the strength in microns. It's advisable to have a shrink wrap which is at least 23-25 micron in strength. Then set down the hoof so that while the glue is still soft, it settles perfectly under the weight of the horse, and you can pick up the contralateral hoof and start trimming that. On the second hoof, I'm going to use the disc grinder, the battery-driven disc grinder for the preparation, the prep of the hoof. And I am using these Pered discs, which are mounted on a ventilated click-on system on a ventilated disc holder, so it never heats up the hoof or causes overheating or anything like that. It's the horses get quickly used to this. If you light up your machine for a little while and get them used to the noise, which is anyway less than most disc grinders, which are not battery driven, and it's a extremely quick method of prepping the hoof. Again, you choose your size and you choose whether you are going to use the dorsal clips or not for the positioning of your shoe. The ideal positioning of the shoe depends on the type of hoof, on the type of terrain, on your knowledge of the horse. You prep your shoe with the heat gun, you prep your hoof depending on the humidity. Again, this polyurethane is a bit more liquid and fluid than that here, so you really want to use that technique in which you keep the cuff part horizontal so that your glue doesn't run. And it's basically more important to get it on the upper side of the cuff than down below. It tends to go down anyways into the shoe. Place your shoe, start wrapping bulb to toe so that it keeps in position. Take your time after you have done the first wraps from bulbs to toe of the shoe to make sure that your shoe is not twisted, that it's in the right position, and then go on to fix it diagonally. You set down the hoof so that the hoof is well settled into the shoe with the weight of the horse on it. You can remove the shrink wrap once the glue has set with a pair of snub-nosed sharp shears or with a carpet cutter. In these images you see it done with a shear, with scissors. You then remove the shrink wrap and the duct tape. You can then clean up the dorsal aspect of the shoeing and the hoof with your rasp, and also make the transition from the cuffs to the hoof wall a little bit smoother. As you can see,